If you're not telling people what you've done, someone else might take the credit. Even worse, people won't even know it's you. If you're tired of the old cookie-cutter marketing advice and want to take your personal brand to the next level with bold, actionable strategies that truly reflect you, you're in the right place. Let's untangle your marketing mayhem with Zoe, the video confidence coach, on the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Unboring Your Brand was recorded on Wadawurrung land. And yes, that's one of my more somber intros, so welcome everyone. But I really want to grab your attention today and talk about how branding, marketing yourself, talking about your message out loud is not bragging, it's branding. I want to remind everyone, it is not bragging, it is branding. And ultimately, I want to touch on I've had multiple conversations over these past couple of weeks where people have been fairly cringy, fairly shivery, fairly avoidant on wanting to promote themselves, their projects, their messages, the stuff that they are doing to help their customers. They are feeling cringy about. We cannot have that. We are not going to have that on the Unboring Your Brand podcast today. So let's get into it. But I want to stress that if you feel this way or have ever felt this way in your personal branding journey, in your business journey, or even just in day-to-day about telling people what you've done or what you've achieved, I'm telling you now, I'm not calling you out. I'm not saying that you're stuck up. I'm not saying that you're a tall poppy. I'm not saying that, why should I care about what you've done? None of that. I'm calling you in, and I want to bring you on board. I want to give you some real talk when it comes to actually a little bit of not caring what other people think, but I want to bring you on board to talk about how bragging is actually a good thing for your business, and to show that your wins or things that you've been able to accomplish, or what your business and your team have been able to accomplish, people need to know about that and see that, to know that there is proof in what you do. Because if people don't see the proof that you have achieved what you're trying to achieve, your big goals, your big dreams, then they're going to think that you haven't done a very good job, or you're not doing a very good job. Do you get what I'm putting down? All right. Some tactics that you can use. So let's take it back, Zoe, to a situation that people might be feeling. Recently, one of my clients that I was working with, we were working through their video strategy. So essentially, they have an overarching marketing strategy, which of course I initially helped them build like a year ago. And we're working specifically on some social media aspect of their strategy. It's a lot easier to break down a very big marketing strategy by working on tiny little pieces. And the little piece we were working on was specifically her Instagram and her social media. When it comes to her social media presence, she is very much an Instagram girly first, and then every other platform next. And when I went to look at her list, I noticed that a lot of the ideas, the concepts that we had were, yes, being used and were there, like in spirit, but they weren't really talking about what they've achieved, what they've done. They can say what they can do, but not what they've actually achieved. I knew through communication and actually keeping up with her that she had recently won some awards. Was that anywhere on her social media feed? No. It was in her tagged feed, so when other people are tagging your business, that were definitely in there. But she wasn't promoting it herself. So we had a chat, and even though it is her business, it is essentially her personal brand because they are very, very linked together, she was feeling very honestly embarrassed about bragging about her achievements. We had a bit more of a discussion. Now, I want to stress I'm not a therapist. Do not treat me like one. Thank you. But eventually we got to it, and we got down into it and realized that it was because she was essentially told off by a couple of people in her sphere of influence Now, the sphere of influence was what I like to call it, is the people that influence you. So these could be family and friends, but these could be other business people that you look up to, maybe even business people that you see are your peers. And these couple of these people who she thought that were her peers were talking down about her. And because they thought that she couldn't hear, they let rip. And the stuff that they were talking about was true. Like, yes, we did do a very large campaign talking about some of the recent additions to her business. But you need to tell people. If you don't tell people what's going on, they're not going to know. And even then, there is a good chance they're not going to know. So you need to keep hammering it. You need to keep pushing it. You need to change the message. You need to keep changing the block to fit the hole. And I had to remind her from an outsider perspective that these people are probably quite jealous. That these other people, yes, they may have a strategy, they may have a way of telling people, but they haven't achieved what she's achieved. So there's a high chance that they're very jealous of her. And if they're not very jealous, then there's got to be something else going on that has nothing to do with her. So we went through all of these potential options for her, and I'll get to them in a second. But the reason I wanted to tell you that story was that this is not exactly an uncommon thing. We haven't left our cattiness, our gossipiness from high school or from school. It hasn't gone away, and it never goes away. And when there is any sort of clique or any sort of group of people that spend a lot of time together, unfortunately in business, there are going to be these chambers, these groups, these communities where people, whether they like it or not, love the opportunity to relish and just rag on someone. Because why not? And to be honest, I have been ragged on. So ragged is the Australian version of piled on. And I go, oh, that stung. Is that going to change what I'm doing? No. Is it going to help the people that I'm serving? No. So I take a bit of time, nurse away wounds, and then I get back into it. And yes, I have been involved in some bragging of myself on some other people. Nothing I say is a lie. And if anything was a lie, I would like to be told about it. So in those moments, when you're feeling like you're bragging, and it unfortunately comes with the territory, when you are growing a personal brand, specifically, you are putting yourself forward as the solution to your clients' problems, potential clients' problems even. You're putting yourself forward. You're putting your services forward. You're putting your products forward. You're putting whatever project you have going on. That's the point of a personal brand. Whatever you have going on, you are putting that forward with the credence, with the knowledge, and with the expertise that you bring to that project. And also maybe a little bit of a halo effect where the halo shine from the work that you've done or the work that you've done previously is able to shine on this new project and give it credence, give it a leg up, maybe give it investment, or people pay attention to it because of the work that you're doing. That is what a personal brand is for. So in those moments when you are feeling a little bit cringy, a little bit small, a little bit, here is what you can do. And this isn't a surefire list. This is just a nice, quick list that I want to be able to give you. So in those moments where you're feeling, you can start off by taking a breath, taking a breather, maybe not looking at your phone for, say, a couple of hours, maybe even half a day, depending on how you feel, and get back into it, getting back on the horse. Threw you off, you can get back on it again. And in those moments where you don't want to put your face forward, your feelings forward, or maybe just aspects of you forward for either your personal brand or your business, you can start off by thanking people. Yeah, that may seem a bit strange, but come with me. You thank people, you thank down and cheer up. You can start by thanking your team. Now, everyone, whether they like to admit it or not, has a team. You may be a small business owner like myself, but at the end of the day, you still have a support structure around you. You still have a team. You still have a group of people, whether or not they are connected to you by family, friends, business mentors, business groups, like you have support somewhere. And in those moments where you're feeling a little bit squeamish about self-promotion, you can start flipping it and thank the people that you've worked with, or cheer people on. This can be either an image or this can be a stock photo. Like, you don't have to use their photos if they're not happy, if they're not privy to it. But being able to share that, not just in social media, but on your email list, on your website, thank people who you work with, because that will A, cheer you up, but also show you that the world is not entirely against you. And it ultimately shows that you were there and that you're leading still and you're getting stuff done, while also acknowledging the work and the help that others have provided you. You're still being there, leading, doing what you need to do to grow your personal brand, while also acknowledging and crediting other people that helped you get there. Speaking of which, about taking credit, when it comes to promoting yourself, you need to take credit for the things that you've achieved, or someone else will. Now, this particular point that I'm referring to in my mind is very much for someone who I'm working with who is currently in a corporate role. They're wanting to grow their personal brand so they can get up and higher within the corporate structure and business, but also just know that if they leave the corporate life for whatever reason, that they still have an asset of their personal brand to utilize to go to a better role or a better company or no. But one thing I had to remind or keep in focus for them was that if they don't take credit for the actions they've done, what they've achieved, people won't know your impact unless you tell them your impact. For her situation, her boss's boss's boss is not psychic. They don't know what's going on. They may get like a short recap from their underlings, but they're not going to know unless they're told. So one tactic that I heard a very long time ago, and I apologize for wherever I got this from because this wasn't my idea. I think corporate, but I'm not very good at corporate, mainly because I have never been in corporate. Love ya. We had the tactic of sending a recap email, not to a boss, but to a boss's boss. And essentially it was a recap email once a week on a Friday afternoon. It was pleasant, it was nice, it was quick. And it's a tactic that just says, hey, here's what I've achieved. Thank you, with a personal message down the bottom, thanking them for the support, the mentorship, whatever they've done. A, this reminds people, hey, this is someone I worked with. B, it shows people, hey, you're doing the work and you're being able to achieve what you achieve. And especially in structured roles where there's no just free for all, like there's a hierarchy to these things. People won't know your impact unless you tell them and unless you inform them. So we did that. We started off with those weekly emails. And then within, I think, a couple of weeks, this boss's boss actually saw her in the foyer and came up to her and thanked her for all the hard work she's been doing. Has anything been No. Has anything really changed for her? No. What's she done? She told people what she was doing. And in turn, she might be getting a promotion. Who knows? I don't entirely know how that works in corporate, but we're doing a good job. So that's the main point. And when it comes to these small actions, you need to start small and stay consistent to be able to achieve the change and the growth that you ultimately want to achieve. Especially with whatever you want to achieve with your brand, you need to do it consistently. Spending 5 minutes on a Friday to email your manager and the manager is gold, like the previous example. And when it comes to people who are maybe like myself in small business or independent, or someone who has turned away from the corporate life rat race, I do not blame you. I highly recommend it. I have never been in corporate myself, but hey, I have the freedom to do what I want to an extent. Being able to have those small things build up over time. And one thing with this particular, I'm sorry to harp on again with this subject that may not appeal to everyone who listens or watches the podcast. With this email, we included her we came up with a template that essentially said her role, what was her objective for that week, for that month, quarter, whatever it be, and the results that she was able to achieve. She was able to do this in really simple dot points, as simple as possible, so the person reading it, again, her manager's manager, I think she also CC'd her manager in there as well, possibly, and we're able to keep it clear, straight to facts, and it wasn't cocky. It wasn't bragging, because it was just saying what she's done. Now, of course, her colleagues may think differently and they may think it's bragging, and that's because they didn't think to do it themselves. So, in your case and in your situation, how can you apply that repetitive nature or a simple task that you can do once a week, maybe every day depending on the thing? What can you do that showcases to people who have that power for you what you can do? So say, for example, the people that have power for me are my clients, are my potential clients, are people who run organizations like chambers and councils and those type of people. I need to remind them of what I've achieved. Even if it wasn't for them, it is ultimately for their benefit. So in that case, be light-hearted, but also straight to the point. A good rule of thumb that I like to use, and this works well for corporate, but can also work well for people outside of that, because again, I'm trying not to stick too hard to my example, was the ROI factor. And I'm not talking return on investment, because that's finance, and that is not my area of expertise, and that is what I pay people for. It is role, objective, impact. What you did. So what did you actually do? What was the goal? And what came out of it? I'll do that again. So we're doing ROI, especially for these really simple things. Now, again, this could be an email to a manager's manager, but this could be a weekly email that you're sending to your clients as part of an email newsletter. This could be a post that you're putting up on social media. This could be an update to a website. This could be a call you're making once a fortnight, once a month to your prospective clients. You can sprinkle this in whenever, because it's so simple and quick, you could pretty much sprinkle this in wherever. Again, ROI, role, objective, impact. What did you actually do? What was the goal? And what came out of it? So role, what were you supposed to do? Objective, what was the goal? And then coming out of it, what actually happened? And even if you did something or you worked on something and it is maybe midway through, what are you able to achieve in that time? And if something didn't work out, what did you learn from it? What is the impact of that? And even though the impact may not be felt by the client, by the manager, by what have you, they still like to see good things, especially from someone that they're thinking about hiring. So make sure you showcase that you are the right person for the job by just casually reminding them using ROI. And as I mentioned, even if you're not in a job, like in a strict corporate hierarchy sense, these same rules still apply. Ultimately, show your audience your results, your client wins, your what I learned this week, or add them to your newsletter. This is part of your messaging. This is part of what you do, especially when growing a personal brand. You share the outcomes, not the fluff. The proof is over the polish. You can't, yes, you can, sprinkle some more sugar on some facts that maybe don't paint you in the best light, for example. But I'm sure with the work that you're doing and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to strive with, you are definitely putting in that effort. And even if you can't actively see the things that you were able to achieve, have a conversation with someone who is either outside of your little circle, or maybe even someone who is maybe a family or friend, and you want to talk with them and they will start seeing things from another perspective of things that you've been able to achieve. I know for a fact that I have a tendency of diminishing my own achievements because there's always a new goal to kick. There's always a new hill to climb over. There's always something next. And I have trouble sitting and enjoying my wins. Do you feel like you do that too? And in those moments, a recommendation that I got from a podcast that I enjoy following, from the Daily Business Podcast. I've forgotten her name. It'll come back to me later. I'll put that in the show notes. Was a little reward menu. Essentially, it was a little wins menu. And essentially what it was is a little menu that I, use ChatGPT just to come up with some examples and put it in the fake French accent. And whenever I'm feeling a bit exhausted or a bit tired, I look at that menu and it's divided into different sections of you've done a little win. All right, go for a walk. Okay, go have a cup of tea. Those type of things, all the way to bigger wins. And those bigger wins can be go to have a spa day or go on a weekend trip with the family. Those type of bigger wins that require a bigger reward. And having this middle menu has made me realize all these things that I have achieved in my business. And it also reminds me to tell people about it. Because people outside of your bubble have a lot more insight than you think, and honestly, what people give credit for. And when you see how your work lands with someone who is unfamiliar with what you do, you can get a real confidence boost back, and a repeated confidence boost back, I might add, because there are plenty of people who, even recently I've talked to in business, who are able to see your achievements and go, awesome, great for you. And then I talked with people who are completely out of my wheelhouse and who see what I've been able to achieve. And they go, yeah, I'm seeing you everywhere. I'm seeing you everywhere, Zoe. I don't want to, but I'm seeing you. And I'm like, awesome, cool. I'm going to take that as a win. And you should too. Take it as a win. Ultimately, when you're in doubt, you can use tools, yes, like AI, but obviously with a pinch of salt and with all your faculties. You can construct weekly emails and pull out wins. You can look back over what your calendar over the past week and see what meetings, what projects you've worked on, and objectively take a breath, take a second, and look back on what you've been able to achieve. Write them down. Take that time to review your week and those wins. For example, you may not want to share all of those all of the time. For example, some things may need to keep secret for bigger projects, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But you've definitely achieved more than you think. So don't forget to check it. And don't forget to wreck it, because you need to tell people about it. So what you're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is you don't have to shout everything from the rooftops, but you do need to make your wins visible, what you've achieved. So think about it as a weekly breadcrumb trail for your future clients, employees, collaborators, people that you work with. Remember, you're not doing this just for you. And if that helps you get things done, you are doing it for other people. Yes, this person may not be real, but if you want to, put me in their place. You are doing this for me. You are going to show up and tell me who you are and why I should care, and remind them to do what they need to do. So, if it's not shared, it didn't happen. And to your future self, they're waiting to give you a standing ovation. So take that time, even if it's a couple of minutes a week, look back, write down your achievements, and pick one of those to share. Now, you could share this via evaporating Instagram story, or you can share this on your email newsletter as a little header, whatever you need to do. But make sure you do it, and make sure you make it a regular part of your routine and your cycle. Now, in the meantime, email me your wins. I want to see them. Love ya. Thank you for listening or watching Unboring Your Brand. You can find detailed show notes with tools, offers, and episode transcriptions. Just click the first link in the description or go to vcc.training/podcast. Get involved and ask me anything about personal branding, video strategy, or just a friendly small business chat via my email, g'day@vcc.training. That is gday@vcc.training. The Video Confidence Coach would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I record my podcast. I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Look forward to me chatting at you next week, superstars.